What's good, ladies and gents? Today I'm doing something a little different. Some of you might be able to tell, some of you might not be. Yeah, so let's get it. So how to maintain your scooter? There are several points that I want to touch on. The first being that it's every 300 miles you should check your oil. Not change, but check it. Make sure the levels are where you last set them, because you know your engine will burn oil, so your engine levels might shrink over time or lower over time. So you want to check and make sure your oil is where you last set it, and it's not too full and it's not too empty. You also want to check your lights and horn. Make sure your lights are still working properly up front, and make sure your horn is still loud enough for people to hear. You also want to check your battery life. Your battery is located right below your feet, where you plant your feet. All you would do is take a screwdriver and unscrew it, and then you have a battery there. There are plenty of battery checkers. You can get them off of eBay or Amazon. They're not that much. Anything I mentioned in this video, there will be a link in the description box below if you guys want to look in further into it or check out more details about it. Check your tire pressure. Make sure, because every tire has on the tire itself, it tells you what the PSI is, which is the tire pressure. It tells you how firm your tire is supposed to be. The last thing you want is a flat, loose tire, because that is super dangerous. If it's not enough air in your tire, then it'll mess up your driving, your handling. It'd be very wobbly when you ride. And if it's too much air or too much pressure in your tires, well, then you risk you blowing out your tire while you ride. And the last thing you want to do is blow out a tire going 30-40 miles per hour. So that's about every 300 miles. You want to just check these things. Make sure everything is okay. Punch buggy red. So now we're moving on to every 500 to 75 miles. Now, at this point, you want to change your oil. This is around the time you want to start changing your engine oil. It's very simple. There's not much to it. Matter of fact, I have videos on this exact thing. You also want to check your tires for any wear or tear, because over time the grip on your tires becomes more and more flat or smooth, and that's the last thing you want, because without grip it's hard to stop or slow down. You'll slide instead of slowly coming to a stop. Truly unsafe, and you want to check to make sure you have enough grip on your tire. It's not smooth. Last thing you want is smooth tires. You also want to check your valves. Now, I know a lot of you guys might not know how to do this. I don't remember if I have a video on how to do it or not, but I would check and see. If I don't, you can always just look up how to check your valves. People underestimate how important it is to check your valves. It's extremely important to make sure your valves are not too tight or too loose, because that can truly just make or break the functions of your scooter. Another important note to maintain your scooter, you always want to, during this period or time, you should have did this first when you first got your scooter, and now about 5 to 750 miles later, check all your nuts and bolts, because over time when your scooter rides, it's constantly shaking or vibrating. So bolts and stuff tend to sometimes shake loose or loosen up, and you want to go back through every nut, every bolt, every nut, every screw, and just make sure it's tight. Don't tighten it too much because you might strip it, but make sure it's firmly planted on there. Last thing you want is something falling off your scooter, because I've had that before. Now I know what you're thinking. How in the world do you plan? Hold on, I think something just fell off my scooter. I need to go back, make a U-turn. I bet I know exactly what it was too. Dang, I forgot to tighten it. Now we're gonna move on to every 1,000 to 1,500 miles. Every 1,000 to 1,500 miles, you're gonna wanna change your transmission oil, or also known as your gear oil. Now you can do it sooner than that, but gear oil, you don't have to change as often as your engine oil. So I would say every 1,000 to 1,500 miles, or if you want to say every 6 months to a year, change your gear oil. You also want to check your spark plug. Definitely check your spark plug during this time frame, or this because your spark plug can start turning. You want to check it and clean it, because your spark plug, it can start turning black on you. So you want to clean it, clean any residue off of it. And if it looks just too black, like too black, you probably just want to go and change it altogether, because the more residue on the spark plug, the harder it is for your scooter to start. In order for it to start, there needs to have a spark, some kind of spark on it, some kind of way. And if it can't spark, well, then your scooter won't start. So definitely, if your scooter looks like it might, your spark plug seems like it might be a little dark, not a little, if it seems like it's really dark, you might want to change your spark plugs. It's better to do it before it gets to that point than to do it when it's too late. I also have a video on this if you want to figure out how to change your spark plug, or you want to know. I do have a video on that, so you guys can check that out anytime you guys get ready. Another important key, people probably don't talk about this as often, but during this 1,000 to 1,500 miles, if you have that many miles on your scooter, or 6 months to a year if you want to break it down like that, you want to check your CVT belt. Your CVT belt is located to the left side of your scooter, and it's encased in this little silver oval looking piece. And the CVT belt is important for the scooter. Most of the parts are important, but this is also important. If you want your scooter wheels to be able to turn, you have to have this belt on point. You need to check it for any cracks, any tears, because if this thing snaps on you, it's a no-go. It's extremely bad, especially if you're riding. It's just as bad as if one of your front tires popped. So you want to check to make sure your CVT belt is working properly. It doesn't have any cracks. It doesn't have any splits. That goes the same for on your tires. Your stem valve, I'll show you guys that. Your stem valve, you want to make sure that doesn't have any cracks or splits, because sometimes, depending on the quality of your scooter, those could dry rot, and when those dry rot and they start to split, well, then air slowly starts to seep out. And when that happens, you're losing tire pressure, you're losing air in your tire, which is not a good thing. Now, if you want to go a little further, you can also clean out your air filter, but it's not always necessary, should I say? Not necessary, but it's not always like a extremely big problem if that thing isn't super clean. Now, there are some basic tools that you do want to have when working or fixing on your scooter. Now, don't worry, these tools aren't like super sky. There are a few of them, quite a few, but they're not like break your bank expensive. Like the lowest on the list could go as low as like 50 cents, and the highest on the list could go as 20 bucks. But it's always recommended that you keep these things on you, because when you own a scooter, I guarantee you it's going to be much more expensive taking your scooter to a mechanic than working on it on yourself, and it's a lot easier to work on it yourself than people think. You don't have to be this super mechanical genius in order to work on it. So I'm going to give you a list of some of those tools. And as I said before earlier, the link to these tools, if you want to check these out and look at them further and look at details about them, the link is going to be in the description box below. So some of those tools, I highly recommend you guys have a small flashlight. You can get these between 50 cents to $1 at Walmart. I know I have one, a cute little flashlight. This is important because when you're working inside of your scooter, when you're going inside, looking deeper inside the scooter, there are parts in there that you can't quite see, because even if you work in your scooter at the daylight, there's so many cracks and nevices in your scooter that light can't quite get into, and it'd be just handy to have a flashlight. Cable ties can never hurt. There's so many different uses for cable ties, and it would be perfect to keep a few of these either underneath your storage or in the trunk of your scooter. Either way, they would be perfect to have. Also, some duct tape, which is like have 1,001 uses, perfect to have. And like a roll of duct tape, it would be awesome to have that just sitting on your storage. They have so many uses for duct tape, and you don't even understand how far a roll of duct tape can go. Electrical tape is also important, but I wouldn't say it's necessary, 100% necessary. But I say if you want some electrical tape when you're working with your lights, when you're working with all your cables and your battery, electrical tape could come in handy. I also recommend a metric wrench set with the sockets. This is like, there is no compromise with this. This is what you need. If you're going to do any kind of maintenance on your scooter, you need one of these. These can run you as little as 20 bucks, maybe even lower than that. If you get the cheaper versions, you don't have to have the perfect, expensive $150 tools at all. I also recommend a Phillips head screwdriver, as well as a short length fuse and hose, a fuse hose vacuum line. Those are basically just in case measures. Now you do want to have a good fuse and hose line, none of that black cheap rubber, because just like your valve stems, those can crack on you, and you can leak oil. I mean, you can leak gasoline, and if you're leaking gasoline, well, guess what? Eventually your scooter won't run because you don't have any gas. And lastly, one of the things I recommend is a spark plug socket, because pulling out your spark plug can be extremely difficult. It's not like you can just use any old socket wrench. You have to have, I want to say it's 5/8. I'm not 100% remember right now, but and it has to be an extension, because your spark plug is like deep in there. So you have to know how to, or you have to be able to really get in there to get the spark plug out. You can't just use any kind of tool. I also recommend you keep a spare spark plug on you. Thank you for watching Ramen on Wheels, aka the Romobile. Yeah. So yeah, that was me explaining how to maintain your scooter, whether it's a 50cc, a 125cc, or 150cc. All these tips would help no matter what type of scooter you ride, and that's just a fact, son. So yeah, thank you for watching. Ramen on Wheels, aka the Romobile, and Shauna Ramen is out. I will see you guys. Deuces. Oh, let's see if I can do deuces. Let's see if I can do deuces. So many cars around. I don't want to hit anything. Deuces. No, I'm gonna hit something. I'm gonna hit something, you guys. Yeah, so I tried to do this one a little bit different. Tell me what you think, if you liked it, if you could tell that I was doing something different or not. But yeah, see you guys.